appropriate measures and actions to help create a state of balance or an equilibrium within our body, instead of numbing out, disconnecting, and then no longer noticing that subtle feedback. You see, our body, our beautiful soma, has barometers. It's telling us all the time how we're going, if we need to slow down. Hello and welcome back. Now, as always, if you're watching this on the Total Somatics YouTube channel, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and press the notification bell so you're updated with every single episode that's released. Now, today, I'd love to delve into the subject and also the importance of total somatic embodiment. Now, let's just define what embodiment is. So embodiment is the ability to pay attention to ourselves. It's to allow ourselves to feel sensations, emotions, movements, to be doing this in the present without creating any judgmental thoughts at all. And I just want to ask you now, how often do you feel that you're embodied, or how often do you feel that you're self-aware? At this moment, if it's safe to do so, if you're driving, obviously choose another time to do this. But if it's okay to do so at this moment, can I just encourage you to do a few little self-awareness assessments here? So first of all, notice if you're walking or you're standing or you're sitting, do you feel that your posture is balanced, or do you feel that you may be off to one side with your weight transfer? Also notice your breathing. Is it shallow? Is it rapid? Is it deep? Is it slow? Where do you feel when you're breathing that most of your movement is coming from? Is it just from the upper chest? Is it from your belly? Or is it from your belly and your chest? And how do you feel emotionally? How much energy do you feel that you have today or at this very moment? Do you feel relaxed, or do you feel quite tense? Just notice your shoulders. Do your shoulders feel relaxed, or do they feel they're hitched up towards your ears? You see, I'm inviting you to notice these things because many people are just not aware of what's happening within their body or their sensations or their feelings. And so we're living in a world now, and there's this culture where people are more disembodied. And that's because people spend more time entertaining their boredom or their short attention span with different types of media and information. And so what this does is people spend less time sensing and feeling what their mind and body are responding to, and also what they're consuming. So what they'll do is they'll take all this information in. They have no awareness to how that, say, disempowering or negative information is impacting their body. And this is where we could really create more boundaries for ourselves, starting to notice how we just allow those things to have their place, but come back to having an embodiment practice. And the reason is the results of having this disembodied actions is that there is a physical and emotional disconnect. And it ranges from things such as people numbing out sensations and feedback from their body to actually dissociative behavior. So they're completely disconnected, and there's also apathy involved. And so really the connection of self-awareness is lost. And it's really quite interesting because over the years working in clinical practice, I've seen this pattern of behavior, and people can sometimes just live in their head and be very, very cognitive and problem solve, but they shut out all the feedback from their body. And you'll sometimes hear narratives such as, I don't have time to be sick, I'm too busy, just take a painkiller and move on, which is really good that people know they've got to carry on and do different activities. However, that's a huge red flag that there's a disconnect there. You see, if we're sensing and feeling what's happening in our body, we can take appropriate measures and actions to help create a state of balance or an equilibrium within our body, instead of numbing out, disconnecting, and then no longer noticing that subtle feedback. You see, our body, our beautiful soma, has barometers. It's telling us all the time how we're going, if we need to slow down, if we need to just stop multitasking because it's starting to exhaust us and overwhelm us. There's lots of things that it's doing all the time. The more embodied we become, the more self-aware we become, it actually really serves us well now. However, it also serves us very well with our future health and well-being as we age. So, embodiment processes, or should I say embodiment practices, actually lessen the numbing effects that people have. And within the Total Somatics membership, you'll see there's lots of classes, workshops, lots of different ways that you can actually develop a practice of embodiment. And it can be a challenge because, again, over the years working in clinical practice, I've seen a lot of people initially find it really hard to sense and feel and read what's going on within their body. However, with that consistent practice, it starts to change the way that their brain is wired, how they start to notice and sense the feedback within their body. And then it really does start to create a whole new landscape in their brain as well as their body, and they have a really healthy focus for the future. And so really, if people have spent years numbing out and disconnecting from their body, they've really blocked the sensations and the feelings with lots of activities to take them away from a self-awareness or an embodiment practice. And so there are many reasons that people will disconnect or dissociate from their body. And so then that's something that we would look at in another episode, for instance. However, over the years, it's been really rewarding to see people from different backgrounds, if they've had trauma, all sorts of things, to actually start to feel safe within their body, to sense and feel the feedback that's coming. And then you can really see that they feel that they're taking ownership and they feel that they're safe to actually sense and feel the sensations. Whereas before, if they felt sensations, they would get very anxious, overwhelmed, and they jump straight back into their head and would numb down those feelings. It's been a survival mechanism for self-preservation. So when we bring an embodiment practice in, we start to change the way that your brain is working, and also we regulate your nervous system, taking it out of that constant survival state. Now, when clients become overwhelmed with pain, their perception massively changes. And sometimes people think to themselves that this pain will last forever. And so this will also create like a dissociative state. They will disconnect, live in their head, and they just don't want to sense and feel what's going on. Understandably, you can understand with the pain. Whereas if you are in the Total Somatics membership, please go into the recordings and workshop section, because you will see I've created many workshops there that's talking about how your brain perceives pain, talking about pain perception, how we can flip that switch and that narrative on pain management. So do have a look at that, because what we're wanting to do is address your soma as a whole, so that we really taking care of your physical, emotional, mental and energetic health. So that's where, again, if we're looking at this as an embodiment practice and also a pain management practice, there's lots of resources you'll find within the Total Somatics membership. Now, I want to come back into this episode because you might not be in the Total Somatics membership, but you're more than welcome to join in the future. But I want to share with you, I've written it down here, 7 Soma wisdom principles. So just before we start, if you're not sure what your soma is, your soma, if you look at it, refers to your entire being. So, you know, your mind, body, energy, spirit, energetic health, all of that sort of thing. However, what all of us are is very individual somas. So we are like a giant sensory organism. From the moment we are born, our soma is molded and sculpted and shaped to all of the life experiences that we have, everything that happens. And so that is what makes us so unique. We all have different bone structures and different, just everything really. We're so unique. So that's why when we're considering this, I want you to consider it for yourself, not thinking of other people. We always come back to this being part of our embodiment, personal growth and development aspect of our life. And so we have such confidence from what we've learned in previous episodes about competitive plasticity, and also how your brain is continuing to change the real estate within your brain, that your neurons are changing all the time. So we know that we may have had things happen in our past, but because of that competitive plasticity, neuroplasticity, everything's changing, growing and adapting all of the time. We can override many of the unhealthy habits, rituals, behaviors, internal narratives by having a consistent practice and doing these techniques. So I want to share with you, I've written them down, 7 Soma wisdom principles that I want you to just consider to really appreciate your body's capabilities, its capacity, and also the tendencies it has. Okay, so the first one to consider is that your soma responds to external environment with constriction, blockage, muscle tension, or unbalance, and it acts in unhealthy habits when stressed, physiologically or emotionally threatened or misused. Now, first of all, you might think, well, that doesn't sound very inspiring. But what it's showing is that is what can happen. But stay with me on this as I develop this further. So let's have a look at the second one. Your soma remembers implicitly feelings, sensations, and memories when vulnerable, emotional, triggered, or touched. Again, you might go, but can you see where I'm saying that our soma is sculpted and molded to the environments we have? So we could be looking at this and thinking, well, actually, that doesn't sound very inspiring or very empowering. But if we know it can have that effect, we also know with the competitive plasticity, which we've learned in previous episodes, we can actually shift that. And that's where I want to then share with you the third point. So the third point is your soma changes all of the time, and it's malleable. So if it's malleable, it's molded, it's sculpted, it changes, it adapts all the time. And the fourth one is your soma's experience is transient and it does not last. Even pain will subside. So can you see I've developed this from the first 2 where, things will happen and it will impact our soma. But then you can see here that those experiences are transient and all things will pass. I mean, I've often used that expression when there's been a lot of stress and I'll go, this will pass. It's just a little blip in my entire life here. So this is what I consider is that it's transient. So because of that, we know that we can shift and move, and it stops us being stuck in thinking this is it forever, if it's pain or whatever the situation is. The fifth one is your soma is capable of repair and healing at any time. And so that's what's so incredible about our body is this process of homeostasis. And just before I go on to another point, I just want to share this point with you because this is where I feel it's absolutely incredible. I've shared it so many times in recent months talking to people when we're talking about how marvelous our body is. But you may be aware that about 5 months ago, my sister had a cardiac arrest. She was very, very ill. So my husband and I had to race to Victoria in Australia. So she was in a city called Geelong in the hospital, and she was on life support. So we stayed with her for like 10 to 12 hours a day, just sat there, I stroke her arm, I'd sing to her, play music, play voice messages from family and friends, just to keep her plasticity of her brain going and to keep her determined to fight. What was extraordinary, and this is why I want to share it when I say your soma is capable of repairing and healing at any time. My sister was on life support, so she had lots of machines and the most incredible medical staff around her, so massive thank you to them. However, what was incredible, as she started to heal, we watched how they would start to take, say, the dialysis machine off her for maybe 5 minutes. And even though she was not really great at that point, I'd be going, well done, Becky. Your kidneys have done this 5 minutes on its own, and I'd keep saying that. And my husband and I said, isn't it incredible how the body just wants to come back to a homeostasis or a state of balance? It's wanting to repair and heal all the time. So when you see somebody that's been in that horrific situation to what she's like now, she's great now, by the way, she's brilliant. When you see how she is now, it makes you look at your whole soma at a different level with absolute awe and amazement to know that even in the most horrific of situations, her body was ready to repair and heal. And we just watched how her entire soma came back to fully functioning on its own. And also don't forget that when you talk to somebody that's like in a coma, they're listening. And so part of that, the soma, is their emotional and their mental health. And so we really wanted to keep her boosted emotionally too. It still gets me to this day, as you can tell. So anyway, that was point 5. Let's go to point 6. Now, number 6 is your soma's wisdom comes forth when you're attended to or related to with kindness, curiosity, and patience. So you notice that there, your soma's wisdom comes forward when it's attended to. So that's going to be in relation to when there's kindness, curiosity, and patience involved. So they're wonderful qualities to have. And when we develop those qualities, we're using the prefrontal cortex. So that is an emotional intelligence, executive functioning. That really is an important part to use. If we're using the front part of our brain, then the stress centers, the limbic systems, reduce in their activity. And MRI scans have actually noticed they reduce in their size. A bit like everything, if we keep living in a certain part of our brain, more neurons, and it will just get juicier and fatter and heavier. We want our front part of our brain to get nice and juicy and fatty and heavier, and let the stress areas shrink down and just be necessary for those instinctive stress situations that we have. The 7th point here is that your soma is the most important place for healing and transformation. And it really is. And that's why when I share with Total Somatics members around the world, and I always say to them, when you get down on the mat or you're doing a standing somatic movement session or a seated somatic movement session, whatever the situation is, this is your time. Everything else, turn off all of those notifications, switch your phone on silent, even switch off the vibrate as well. Go into a quiet place and do your practice here. This is really for healing and transformation. But it's not just on that standalone movement session. Find time throughout the day to really nurture and take care, because our nervous system is adapting and shifting and changing all of the time. And because of that, we need to be fully aware and conscious and embodied to what is happening so we can take care of ourselves. And that's really very important. We want to keep that homeostasis, or that state of balance. We want to stay regulated. And there will be ups and downs throughout the day. That's natural. That's to happen with our nervous system. Our nervous system is like a guard dog. It's watching all the time, gauging and judging if this is a safe environment or not. So what we do is we practice total somatic principles and total somatic education to ensure that your nervous system operates at the correct time, but it's not always operating either as high functioning anxiety or low apathy, just nothing to kind of get you moving because you feel so low and so flat. So that's why I just want to share with you. It's been an episode that I really wanted to, and I obviously shared a little bit more about my dear sister, so you hear about that. But I wanted to share how important embodiment practice is. Again, you can teach people these movements. You know, anyone can learn somatic movements, but it's about the teaching. It's about the cueing. It's about how you direct somebody in that area. And that's why total somatics is so popular and powerful for people making changes in their life, because it's not just the movements, but there's an approach that I teach you, and then the discussions and the Q&A sessions that I have within the membership that really does expand your knowledge and your awareness and your perception of various aspects of your mind, body, emotional health, mental health, physical, energetic health, the whole lot really, your somatic health. So I'd love you to join the Total Somatics membership. It's so beneficial for all age groups, and you will take so many gems away. And you can always join. So if you go to totalsomatics.com and click on the Join Now page, if you land on that Join Now page and it says the membership doors are closed, please leave your details on that page. And when I open the membership doors again, you will be the first to find out. The reason for that is I only open the doors for a short amount of time throughout the year. And that's because my priority is to fully serve and focus on the Total Somatics members. So if it was open all the time, there'd be a lot of focus elsewhere. And I want to be fully focused on taking care of everybody within the Total Somatics membership. So if you're interested, come on in. Just wait for whenever the membership doors open. That's totalsomatics.com. Click on the Join Now page. However, if you want to start today and then join Total Somatics membership when the doors open, go to totalsomatics.com, click on the shop page, and you'll see lots of digital products there to start today. And again, start practicing that embodiment practice. So you're going to benefit on so many levels. So until next time, all my love and my very best wishes. Take care. Bye. Thank you for joining me today. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and also forward this on to somebody you know will benefit. To learn more about pain relief, plus how to improve your health and well-being, go to totalsomatics.com. Until next time, take care.